Hello and welcome to Perfect Jacket. In this exciting episode, it's part one of a two-part. I will be making this jacket and part two will be the beading. I was going to be making a jacket out of this French tweed, but the last jacket I made had ivory glass pearls and I kind of want to do that for the yellow one as well. So I've decided to do this sort of peachy pastel one instead. It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket. First step is to cut out all the pieces. So here we go. I've got the tweed, which is a Linton Tweed from the UK, and it's sort of a peachy pastel coloured one with flecks of baby blue and pink in there. And then for the lining, I'm using a silk chamoose in a sort of champagne cream colour. And then for the structural layer, I'm using a sort of off-white netting. And I think I'm going to use a couple of layers of netting just because I want to bead this, so I want it to be a bit more structurally sound. So we'll set aside the lining for the moment and lay all the other pieces out. Okay, the off-white netting on the off-white bench isn't really coming off, but I've just laid out all the pieces in the correct order. And then on top of that, I added the pieces of the pattern pieces in the tweed. And then before you pin them all together, if you're having trouble sort of wrangling all the layers, you can always just pin all the layers together and then sort of turn them on top of each other and pin each piece together. Everything's pinned and ready to sew. I've used 3 layers of netting as a structural layer. I think I've gone a bit overboard, but I'll do it anyway. So I have machine sewn all the torso pieces, the body of the jacket together, and I've sewn the sleeves together as well. So the next step is to pin back the seam allowance and hand stitch it down. So now that the seam allowance is all hand stitched down on all the panels and also on the sleeves, it is time to attach the structural layer, so the netting, to the actual tulle. So I've pinned the lines where I'm going to sew, and then I hand sewed them, and now it is done. So it's time to machine sew the tops together. Normally I do this at an earlier stage, but I thought I would just try leaving it open, so see if it was easier to hand sew, which it is slightly. So I've pinned the tops together, then I machine sewed them, and then of course I just had to pin the seam allowance back and hand sew that down. So that's all done. And then so I've just turned it in the correct way. This is what it looks like. And this is a truer colour. It's a sort of lemony peach colour. And yeah, I just love the flags in this fabric. They give it so much texture, and yeah, it's very 3D. And I think the 3 layers of the netting just fill out this jacket and give it such a beautiful silhouette and shape. Very gorgeous. But of course I've forgotten to do the hem, so I'll do that now. So you just have to pin the hem and the cuffs and then stitch them, hand stitch them. So here it is. I've measured and pinned. Now it is time to hand stitch. And now it's all done. I've done the cuffs of the sleeves as well. So now it is time to attach the sleeves to the torso of the jacket. Oh my God, what an absolute nightmare. I've pinned it, but this is so many layers of netting because you've got all the torso bits, the 3 on the torso, and you've got all the bits on the sleeves. These are a slim fit sleeve, so they're really, really narrow. When I made this jacket about 3 months ago, I also used 3 layers of netting for the structural layer, but that was different because this McCall's pattern, it has a lot more, it's a looser fitting. So yeah, with these slim fit sleeves, oh my God, it's a killer. But I mean, look how perfect those shoulders are. They're just magnificent. They're like a 1980s Terry Mugler look. They're so beautiful. Anyway, so I machine sewed and then I turned it out to just check if everything was okay and there were no unintended pucks or pleats or anything like that. Oh, it looks so beautiful from the back. So yeah, I think wearing this, the sleeves are going to be really firm. I know that, but oh, the silhouette is just so pretty. So I don't know. I won't make any more of this slim fit style with 3 layers because it was just an absolute nightmare to wrangle them attaching these sleeves. So yeah, after I did the 2 layers of machine sewing, the second to reinforce, then I just cut the seam allowance in the bottom half of the sleeve, and it's sort of lying on the table upside down. That might be a bit confusing, sorry about that. And then I just clip the curves, and yeah, so now I have to stitch down the remaining seam allowance. But yeah, oh, this is just an absolute nightmare. Worth it because it looks so beautiful. So yeah, I've just I pinned from the outside just because it's easier for me. So I've pinned down the seam allowance and I do 2 layers of hand stitching. First from I hold the jacket so that I can see the outside, and then I'll turn it back inside and do the second layer inside. So I've stitched down the seam allowance on the sleeves. Now I've turned it out and put it on the mannequin, and here it is. Now the next step would be to make the lining and sew the lining in, and I've actually already made the lining, but I think we will leave this part 1 video right here because I am going to use so many beads when I bead this one. You might remember a few months ago where I had a Chanel-ish type tweed in beige and hot pink and red, and I basically covered it almost completely in red and pink beads and some sequins. Well, I'm thinking of doing something similar but more deconstructed. I really like on the back ends there's patches where you can see the tweed coming through. So I want to do that with this one. I've got some really bling heavy beads, and yeah, so that's why I use the 3 layers of netting for the structural layer on this one. So yeah, in part 2 I will be beading the bejesus out of this lovely tweed jacket. So thank you for watching, and I might see you for part 2 next week. Thank you.